I'm going to speak to you about a topic that I really enjoy, really love, I'm fascinated about. It's everything that has to do with branding and how it impacts our SEO these days. So 2020, what does it even mean? Like, believe it or not, but 2020 really is right here. And it feels like it's the future, but it's here. And Google's 20th birthday was almost a year ago. Can you believe that? Can you believe how old we all are? So the web is basically flooded with websites by now. How many websites? I checked that a few days ago. Apparently there are 1.5 billion websites today, which is a lot. A lot of them are not active, but many are still are. At least hundreds of millions of websites are still active and actively maintained. And reputation is key because Google needs to decide who to trust. Okay, that's a big question. How do we even prioritize and trust when there's so many different websites? Now, when it comes to technical SEO, this becomes pretty advanced and complicated to a lot of people. But one thing that everyone understands pretty easily is branding. Where's the clicker? Here's my clicker. I need the clicker. And the reason we all understand branding so well is because we are used to seeing brands all the time since a very, very young age. So in this case, I chose a few logos of just random companies I was thinking of. And I would say that my 6-year-old, she would probably recognize almost every single one of them, besides maybe one or two. My 3-year-old, he would at least recognize one or two. Any guesses which one he would definitely recognize? Lego. Then McDonald's. That's the second one. And it's not that Google really likes or prefers brands. It's just that strong brands, they come with something. And what is that they come with? Basically, Google is trying to understand what we want as users. And what we want is someone who we can trust, because by now, users became pretty spoiled. Just think about yourself as a user today versus 20 years ago. Today, what you want is you want fast results, you want accurate results, and you also want security. You want to make sure that if you buy something online and you find that on Google, you can trust the site. Okay, and I can give you lots of examples, but just think about e-commerce for a minute. If you pay money, you want to make sure that the item is getting to your house. That's basic today. That was not basic 20 years ago. Would you? So many people would say that they would enter an empty restaurant because, well, you don't have to wait. But the thing is that one thing we all understand is that if people are going to this one restaurant, then probably it's worth something. And if everyone's avoiding that particular one, maybe they know something, and maybe we should avoid that as well. And it's the same concept, really, just as in this restaurant.
Herd mind. It's called herd mind.
Absolutely.
And to be in business.
That's right. And Google knows how we behave online because they track pretty much everything by now. And Google only loves brands because that's what we often want. All right, I'm going to speak about something that Eli actually mentioned earlier, which is something I'm really fascinated about, and it's branded searches. Now, when I'm speaking about branded searches, I'm speaking about all these searches that you can see in your search console that include a brand name, all right? And brand names that are associated with specific topics, specific keywords, they help Google understand this association, okay? I'm going to give you this one example. Stranger Things, IMDb. Anyone ever tried this search online? Anyone watching Stranger Things? Like, obviously, IMDb will rank #1 because people also search for that. That's obviously not the only reason, but it helps Google understand the association, okay? And people can trust IMDb because all they want to know before they start watching Stranger Things is whether it's worth the time or not. So that's why they look at the rate. Now, what you can do is you can definitely check out your branded searches. All you need to do is type your brand name here and see what's happening. What kind of keywords people are searching for when they have your brand name in mind. And you can also do something else. You can track this thing over time, okay, as your share of branded searches. Some sites will have 5 or 10% of branded searches as all of their organic search, and some of them will have much higher. I'll give you a few examples in a couple of minutes. Let's talk about a few additional indirect metrics that actually impact SEO from a branding perspective. First of all, CTR. All right, so CTR, imagine looking at the top 3 results on Google, and then you actually recognize the third one. Think about it for a second. Are you more likely to click on the third one if it's a brand that you actually know or even visited before, if it's a store that you've purchased from before? Okay, so some people say that CTR is not a direct ranking factor, but it can definitely be an indirect one simply because Google is using CTR to actually test their search results. They actually said that officially in 2014. Next, let's talk a little bit about user engagement. Think about metrics such as dwell time. A lot of people are speaking about dwell time these days. Think about things like bounce rate or time on site or even the return rate. How many of all the users who are coming to a website are actually returning? This is a type of metric that we know by now that Google can track, and it definitely helps when it comes to a brand. Last, brands are definitely more likely to get more mentions and links. Just think about all these editors, bloggers, journalists who are getting lots of pitches, and then they decide who to link to. Are they going to use a quote from a more trustable brand? Of course they will. And that helps these sites get more mentions and more links. Ever heard of this thing? Of course you did. EAT or EAT. I don't even know how people spell that. Some spell EAT, some spell EAT. In Israel, we usually say EAT, but it doesn't matter. What matters is that expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness is a big, big thing. Now, Google said officially that this thing is only relevant to your money, your life sites. At least they said that in November 2015. But they actually changed their mind a little bit in the last 2 years because they definitely said that they are tracking this thing for every single one of the sites, even if for the your money, your life sites, it's simply more important, okay? All right, so how can every single one of us understand how strong a brand is? Now, for a KPI that I had from my department, I was trying to understand how we can even track brand awareness. So long story short, and it's not only this, Paul, I realized that the branded searches that I've mentioned before is actually a really, really good starting point. Because if you track this metric over a course of a few years, you can really understand how this thing grows, not only in share, but also in numbers. Now, here's some examples that I really like. First of all, Booking.com. It's not a really branded searches, it's just the brand. Then think about something like Best Buy laptops. Okay, it's not a coincidence that Best Buy ranks really, really well for laptops because of what we said earlier. Google understands this association. Lucifer, anyone watching this show? Nice. All right. So same thing, once again. Or Investing.com's economic calendar. Okay, this is one of our top results in the Search Console. And surprise, we ranked number 1 or 2 according to the Geo for this for the past few years. Same with Trump and Twitter. From everything the web has to say about Donald Trump, Google actually prefers the Twitter account of Trump as the first result, before Wikipedia. All right, so I was really curious to know which brands have a very high number of branded searches. Now, I obviously don't have their Search Console, but I do have all these tools that provide us with search volume, starting with Google and all the other tools that all of you are familiar with, and they are all in your toolkit, so I'm not going to speak about them. Airbnb, I calculated it with a few Excels, and I got to over 94, so 95% of all the organic traffic Airbnb is getting has the word Airbnb inside. Amazon, over 87. Keywords such as Amazon Prime, Amazon Videos, Amazon Music, all right? IMDb, 25, which is not bad and interesting, but much lower. Yeah. All right, guys, since I know it's late, I'm going to finish right here. This was me about branding.